Welcome back to technology. Time for space. What do you know about space? Do you know about moons? How about planets or stars? What about galaxies? Have you ever heard of those things? What about a black hole? Space is full of awesome things and things that are very mysterious too. How many planets are there? Well, there have been over 4,000 planets discovered that are called exoplanets, and scientists think there's millions and millions more based on what they've discovered. But how many planets are there in our solar system? Well, here's a song about that.
There are 8 planets in the solar system. We revolve around the sun. Join us to learn about the different planets. Now sing along and have some fun.
That's just the beginning of that song, but you can listen to the rest of it later, and I'll show you how. But we were talking about how many planets in a solar system. What's a solar system? Well, it's the group of 8 planets, their moons and everything else, all the other objects such as asteroids and comets that orbit our star, which is called the sun. That's our solar system, which is called Sol. Time for planet trivia! What is this planet? Do you know? This is Mars. What is this planet? Shout out if you know. Saturn. You were right. Or were you? Were you? What is this planet? Ooh. You can see a big red spot. This is Jupiter. The next one's a little easy. I think everybody can get the next one. What's this planet? Of course, Earth. That's the planet we live on. It's the only planet that supports organic life, so far as we know. Let's learn a few more things about space, a few more space terms. Like, what's a comet? Well, this is a comet. And comets are giant balls of ice and rock that heat up when they're orbiting the sun. And as they come closer, they leave big, long trails of heated gases and particles that really look very, very cool. And here's another view of a different comet. Nebula. Have you ever heard of a nebula? Well, what's a nebula? It's a giant gas cloud in space. And there's lots of different nebulas. Here's a few more. They can look really pretty sometimes, with the stars inside of them or lighting them from behind and such. They can look very many different colors. They're really, really large too. Let's talk about a supernova. What's a supernova? Well, it is when a star suddenly increases greatly in its brightness because of a catastrophic explosion that ejects, which means it spits out most of its mass. So essentially, it's when a star explodes. That's called a supernova. And sometimes, after a supernova, it can create a nebula, like this. So all the gases and all the things in the star explode outwards in such a big shock wave that it spreads the gas out and it dissipates into a nebula. Sometimes. What's a galaxy? Well, a galaxy it's a system of millions or billions of stars together with gas and dust and things like that are held together by gravitational force or gravity. Galaxies are huge. They're the biggest thing we're going to talk about. They're billions and billions of stars together. And we can see other galaxies very distant, hundreds and thousands of light years away with space telescopes. And here's one, and here's another one, and they're just giant groups of stars. What are we doing today? Well, let's make some space art. Okay? So, to make some space art, follow my next bit of tutorial. To make some space art, go back to Seesaw, and here's the assignment. It says next, click Add Response and Drawing, and then follow the instructions, which I'm telling you now how to do this in this video to make some space art. So let's click Add Response, and then we're going to click Drawing. Okay, and I'll just make some space art right now. Well, how do we do it? Well, I like to start with a dark space background because the blackness of space is really, really dark. So you can click on the three dots over here. Okay, there's two ways to make black space. Okay, you can either click background and click dark black or whatever here. It's not completely black though, as you can see. It's kind of grayish. If you want to really, really make it black, you're going to have to click on the three dots and go to, instead of background, you want to go to shapes. Okay, we're going to use shapes some more too. And then you can click on the rectangle, or you can click on the square too, either one. And here's the rectangle or the square, and I want to click on the square, okay, to get it selected with all the little dots around it. And I'm going to go over to the side over here, and I'm going to pull the bar all the way to the bottom to make it dark black, like the blackness of space. Then I can drag the corner or the side, and I can drag it all the way off of my screen. Okay, see that? I'm dragging it really big to cover the whole screen. Now we have a totally black space background to start making our art. So, to start, I like to think about what I want to make. I think I want to make a planet, okay? So I'm going to click Shapes again, add another shape, but this time a circle, okay? Because planets and other objects in space are always circular or spherical. They're perfect, almost perfect spheres. Sometimes moons and asteroids are a little bit not so perfectly round. So I can drag the corners to make it as big as small or small as I want, and I think maybe I'll make a big one this time. Okay, maybe I'll make it kind of big and just like off to the side here, and I want to make it a little bit lighter blue, maybe darker blue. It's up to you really, what color exactly you want to go for. So after you pick your color that you want, you can go to the marker, okay, and you can start to draw. I want to make maybe some land, maybe some clouds. Okay, I'll make some clouds and some land. Maybe I'll make some variations in my green colors here. Here we go. Oops. If you make a mistake, here's a real good tip for you. If you make a mistake, you can hold down the control button, okay? And then you can press Z once. And if you do that, it'll undo whatever you just did. If you made a big mistake, let's say I drew off to the side of my planet and I didn't really want to do that. Uh-oh, big mistake. Again, I hold down Control. So I'm holding down Control with one finger. Now watch what happens when I press Z with the other finger. Boop. It undoes whatever I just did. So I want to fill in some of this. Maybe make some cool land. Maybe I want to make an ice cap. Because Earth, so far, has frozen ice caps. We'll see what happens in the future. Well, how do I make stars? I want to make a bunch of stars. How do I make some stars? Well, I can just click marker, and I can move the color to white, and I can just click all over the darkness of space to add some stars. Because we live in a galaxy. Our galaxy is called the Milky Way. Because when you look at it, sometimes it looks like someone splashed a bunch of milk all across the sky, and it's splashed and scattered the stars all over the place. And they're actually kind of in a band, okay? So you can kind of make more stars in kind of a band across the sky, because that is us looking across at the edge of our galaxy, the Milky Way. Now, if you want to make different size stars too, you can use like the pencil, make sure it's white, and oh, look at that, even smaller stars out there in the Milky Way. Now, what if I want to make like actual like star-shaped stars? Well, you can go over to shapes, okay, and look, there's a star right there. You can click star, and then we can make it small, of course, as small as we can, and you can position it around, okay? Now, I'm going to show you another trick. If you want to copy that star, instead of just going back to shapes and clicking shapes and adding another shape and making it small again, you can just take your star, have it selected, you can copy it. Watch this. To copy your star, hold down the control button with one finger, then you want to press the letter C with another finger. Boop. Okay? And that copied it. Now, to paste it somewhere else, I need to hold down the control button again. And this time, instead of pressing C, I press the letter V, as in volcano. Okay? So when I do that, watch what happens. Boop! Okay? I just copied the star over there. I can do it again. Boop! Drag it around, and again. Drag it around, and again. And I can copy those stars like that. Let's say I want to make another planet or something. I can go back to shapes. I can go to circle, add another circle. Now, the planets aren't really this close together in our solar system, but maybe this is a different solar system. Maybe this isn't Earth. Maybe this is an exoplanet in a star far away. Let's change my color of my planet. Maybe this one wants to be orangish or reddish. And I can color it some different colors. Maybe it's a gas giant or something in the distance. Let's add one more thing if you want. Let's add a comet. Okay? Sometimes you see a comet streaking through the sky, and usually it's a whitish and bluish ball of rock and ice, right? I want to use this small marker for this, okay? And then I want to make it also bluish. So usually they're a little bluish and a little bit white. So we'll make it blue and white, and then we'll go back to white, and I want to make streaks out from the comet. Okay, so you just click and you drag out. If you're using the Chromebook, you can just tap the comet and drag out, right, on the screen. So we want to make a comet streaking across the night sky. You can make little tiny streaks too, because they leave really long trails sometimes. Make it a little more thick in the middle, and it kind of spreads out on the edges. Sometimes you have a little bit of blue on the edge, like that. And there we have a pretty cool looking comet. Now if you want to add a little pencil too, you can use a little pencil, a little bit of a marker. Whoops, wrong color. I want to use maybe a bluish tint to the top of this. Okay, maybe we'll add a little more white here too. Nice comet. I like it. What else can we add that's in space? Well, you could add the International Space Station. You could add a black hole. You could add a supernova. You could add a nebula. All sorts of things you could add to your space art. If you're in second grade, I want you to label as many things as you can. If you're in first grade, try to label at least one or two things. If you're in kindergarten, you can try it if you want, but you can just make art. Don't worry about labeling too much. Let's say I wanted to label some things. I want to label this comet right here. And maybe I want to label something else here too. I want to label this the Milky Way as band of stars, right? I can rotate it so it's along that band. Look at that. To rotate your label, you got to click the top and drag like that. Cool, there's the Milky Way. That's pretty good so far. I want to save it. To save and be done, click the check mark at the top, and then uploads to Seesaw. And great job if you added several of the things we talked about and labeled stuff especially. I wanted to show you one more thing. On the assignment, this assignment we're doing, it says, finally, if you want to do some additional learning, you can click here to get to my website. So let's click here and go to my website. Here's my website if you haven't seen it before. Now, if you're in kindergarten, you can click on kindergarten here. If you're in first grade, and second grade here. So this black box is the space activities. You can try any of these if you want. To hear and sing along to the rest of that cool song about the 8 planets that we briefly listened to, you can click Solar System Songs here. There's a lunar lander game, which is a lot of fun. 10,000 stars. This is really great too. Let's check this out briefly. So 10,000 stars, whoa, it's kind of loud. 10,000 stars is a really cool simulation of the 10,000 closest stars to our solar system. And they're in the Milky Way galaxy. We can zoom in and we can see, oh, here's our star, the sun. Oops, the sun. We can zoom in even closer and see what it looks like inside of our own solar system. Okay, so there's Earth, Mercury, Venus. You can click and rotate our solar system. You can zoom out and see the closest stars to us. So let's see, what's the closest star to our star, the sun? Well, actually, it's these two, Alpha Centauri, and there's another one called Proxima Centauri. There it is. Those are the closest stars to our star. What happens if you zoom further out, though? Well, you can see even more stars around our sun. And where we're positioned in our galaxy. If you zoom even further out, we can see our whole galaxy. You can see how many stars there are. There are so many stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And if you zoom all the way out, you can see the entirety of our Milky Way galaxy. It's very pretty, I think. Now, let's say we want to go back and try a different activity. Well, I closed what I was doing by clicking the little X tab at the top. Let's look at size of space. The size of space, this is very cool. Okay, and this says use the right arrow key or swipe left to start. This gives us an idea of how big things are in space, because space is so big it's hard to even understand how big things really are. So here's the size of one person, one astronaut floating in space. There's the Hubble Space Telescope, which took a lot of those pictures of galaxies and nebulas that we were looking at. There's a space shuttle. There's the International Space Station. There's a Saturn V rocket, the biggest rocket that humans have made so far. Then we have some asteroids, and we get bigger and bigger. This is a small moon of Mars. Bigger and bigger asteroids, and then planetoids. And here we go. Makemake. Pluto is not a planet, it's a dwarf planet. Europa, the moon. Different moons around different planets in our solar system. Titan is very big, but look at that. It's almost the size of Mars, which is a planet. It's the 4th planet. Sirius B, that's a star. Look at how small that star is. It's a white dwarf star, one of the smallest kinds of stars. It's just barely bigger than Mars. We have Venus and Earth. See how similar Earth and Venus are in size, they're almost exactly the same size. But Venus has hundreds and hundreds of degrees hotter atmosphere than Earth. Some people think that Earth might eventually turn into Venus. Hopefully not. Then we have exoplanets: Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter. Here's our star, the Sun. Look at how big our star is compared to these planets. Way bigger. But guess what? There's even bigger things. Bigger stars. Sirius A. Here's a red giant star. Look at how big a red giant is compared to our star, the Sun, and then how tiny our planets are. Things in space get even bigger. Here's a supermassive black hole. Here's some red giant stars. Here's an even bigger red giant star, Betelgeuse. But there's even bigger yet. Bigger than that? Well, this is the first picture ever taken, actual picture of a black hole. Black holes are stars that have collapsed because they are so massive that not even light can escape. So they look black. And there's really big ones at the centers of galaxies. Here are some nebulas. Remember, nebulas are sometimes created when stars explode, and they're huge clouds of gas in space. They can be very big, but really cool looking too. Wow. Here's the smallest galaxy one of the smallest ones we know of. It's a dwarf galaxy, but they get bigger and bigger. Galaxies are humongous, and they're very, very pretty. The Andromeda galaxy is pretty close to our galaxy, relatively, and eventually, within billions of years, they're supposed to kind of merge, the Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxy. I mean, beyond that, well, we just get into the size of space itself and the size of everything we can really see, which is kind of, you can't even really comprehend that very well. But this is a pretty cool program to show you kind of how big things are really in space. So there's another cool program called the Scale of the Universe too, that you could try all of these if you just go to my website and click on your grade level and try some of these out. There's some cool stuff. That's all for this week. I hope you guys had fun. See you next time.